thing.
Okay.
But
for a lot of us, Yingling is our craft beer, right?
Yeah.
So,
and that was before I got into IPAs or anything. But I graduated college, and before I figured out what I wanted to do, I was longtime family friends of ours opened up a brewery in Meadville, Timber Creek Tap and Table, who's also part of the Ale Trail, and I worked there for the summer, and I really got to know what was the ins and outs of opening a brewery and operating a brewery, and I really just thrive on that high energy environment and everything. So bartended there for a while, went to a 9 to 5, moved away, came back and just worked corporate for a little bit, but I always bartended and I've just always enjoyed it a lot. And looking ahead to my future, I knew that bartending wasn't going to be a permanent fixture in my life, even though I enjoyed it a lot, just wasn't what I wanted to do forever. So when I came back to full-time bartending and early last year, I was presented the opportunity to apply for the executive director role of the Lake Erie Ale Trail, which is entering its 10th year this year. Started with 3 breweries, and we're now up to 17 with the expansion and opening of people going on their own routes and opening their own breweries in the area. And I got the role and I just dove right in. Erie is obviously a huge part of Erie and our summer festivals, with our open container law allowing us to take part in a lot of the things going on downtown, pop-ups that breweries can go to and serve their own beer. And it helps cultivate the local environment so much better than people just stocking up on, on commercialized beer and everything.
Beer, yeah.
So, yeah.
So what is the how did the Ale Trail start? Like you said, it started with 3 locations. Was this just like a casual coming together of craft beer microbreweries, or was it more like intentional of, hey, how do we keep people to stay around Erie?
Very intentional. Jeff McCullough, Jason Lavery, and Chris Sirianni, who just retired from the brewery at Union Station, they got together for a purpose, for sure. They knew that they were all, well, except for Sirianni, both Jason and Jeff were in the new beginnings of their breweries, and they knew that they wanted to keep everything local. It's that whole statement of keeping everything local. And so they wanted to make sure that they could advocate for each other and advocate for other breweries to have certain rights in legislative world. And Jason Lavery's always been involved in that and is very on the up and up of just that information and what's going on. And he just wanted to make sure everything could be kept, within reasonable rights, and that they could help drive more tourism to Erie, because that's our whole thing too.
Right.
With Presque Isle and Visit Erie, which we are partners with, just wanted to keep our visitors, since we are a nice central hub of Pittsburgh, Buffalo, and Cleveland, and even Philly. I serve so many people from Philadelphia in the summer. We just wanted to keep everything here and drive people here. So, and then it just grew from there. I think Arendelle was an early participant, Erie Brewing for sure. And then,
people don't think about Arendelle being a brewer, but they do wine and beer out there.
Yep.
Right? Wow.
Yeah, that beautiful little setting. They do it all out there.
Yeah. Go see Shaney Bills every once in a while play. And how is it, like, what are the marketing pieces, and how do you kind of get the word out about this? Like, what are some of the strategies that you all use?
A lot of it is beer releases. Everyone, it's no contention that the beer world is saturated. There's a lot of the joke is always the IPAs. Everyone's got hazy IPAs, all this. So if someone comes out with something unique, or even if it is something that's been done 100 times, like, people still like their IPAs and their lagers and everything. So we just try to highlight whatever everybody has going on. Live entertainment is a huge component of things now. So if there isn't a specific campaign going on at that moment, I just try to make sure everyone knows about what's going on our website, on social media, and everything. And then
kind of a clearinghouse of the information
everyone
with entertainment and
everyone has their own pages and everything, but I'm working on centralizing it to one spot. So it's like, what are we doing this weekend? Like, you can pull up a page and I have it, on there to see this is what all's going on. So you don't have to you can just see what all 17 people are doing if they're utilizing that. So And then with summer coming up, just the big drive to going to locally owned restaurants and breweries, and food is a huge thing now with breweries too. So it just people are specializing in curating their food just as much as they are their beer now, because it's just a one-stop shop. A lot of families go to breweries now. Just
Sure.
you know, but a lot of places are expanding, and there's a lot of room for everybody. So that's what we try to drive. Come to this family-friendly environment. Come get some. I mean, you know, down to having locally specialized food too, like pepperoni balls, or you know.
Well, yeah. Brewery has. Especially, you know, the homemade sodas. I mean, you know.
Yeah. I just saw their updated list the other day because I shared it on our page. I'm like, cotton candy, that sounds amazing.
For a soda, yeah. The is there an actual like when you talk about the Ale Trail, is there like an event or a summer promotion that you do to try to drive? Because, you know, it's let's just say it's easy to go to Lavery, or Lavery to go to Brewery because they're right downtown, you know. But it might, you know, people might not know to go to what I think it's Sagertown where the other Lavery is, or is that
no,
Voodoo?
not anymore. No,
okay.
that was in Titusville actually. But we have two down in Titusville. We have Fat Chad's and Orr's Brewing. We have Rising River and Conneaut Lake. They just opened up a couple years ago. Riverside and Cambridge.
Riverside, that's right.
Yes.
Isn't there a branch? I'm trying. I think it was maybe Voodoo, but might not be. There's like a big one down in Meadville.
Yeah, Meadville. Yep, on Bessemer Street in the Voodoo compound. That's their production facility.
Oh, okay.
Just down the road from their original Arch Street location, which is closed now. But that they have a beautiful bar down there. So many selections. It's huge. It's even nice to just go down and look at. But they have a great outside area and everything too. Arcade games. But
I've seen bands there.
Yes,
you know?
yeah, they have the event space for it for sure. But yes, there are fundraising efforts that we do every year. One coming up that is brand new is our Jeer Fest. That is going to be a 30-minute.
Say that again.
Jeer Fest instead of Beer Fest. It's a J. So because we're kind of jeering at ourselves. It's a bad review reading.
Oh God! Seriously?
Yeah. This is something that they did 6 or 7 years ago.
This is like Hollywood stars reading their mean tweets. Yeah.
So in a 30-minute segment, we're going to be opening up for comedian Ryan Niemiller, who was on America's Got Talent. I actually watched that whole season, and he's great. So I'm going to open everything up, explain why we're there, explain what the Ale Trail is, and then we have a few people coming up to read bad reviews of their own or by proxy some of the breweries, just because you have to. You know, these people work really, really hard, and there's people that come in and, you know, I know we have bad experiences. Sometimes maybe something's off one day and that's your bad timing for going in there. But the judgment that we are succumbed to by, you know, people that don't know even an inch of what goes on to make anything happen. So yes, that is a fundraising effort. We're having it at Keller's Magic and Comedy Club. April 24th coming up. 7:00. So
that sounds hilarious. I'm sorry.
We have some giveaways: Erie Zoo, Q Abides, Erie Waterworks. A lot of people giving some stuff away to help drive some attendance there. And then a few weeks later, we have Beer Coaster, which is in its seventh and potentially final year this year before we pivot onto something else. It's at Waldemere. It's on May 17th, a part of American Craft Beer Week. And we're going to have as many breweries there as we can out of the 17 from 4 to 7 to do a tasting. It's essentially a tasting event. We're going to have hot dogs again this year. We didn't have food last year, but we will this year.
Okay.
And I'm going to have a couple different vendors there, I think, for just some entertainment and everything, potentially a dunking booth. We're not sure yet. It's last year, so I'm trying to pull out as many stops as I can. But
that's pretty phenomenal there, and again, getting ready for summer and the big Waldemere push there after it. We're talking to Kristin Hubert. She is with us from the Lake Erie Ale Trail. We're going to take our first break here. You are tuned to Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show on this fun Friday here. when you think about it, the craft of brewing in Erie, goes back a couple centuries, right? When you think about the Kohlers, and I don't know, there must have been like a half a dozen breweries in the 1800s, right? I mean, the Germans came.
Yeah,
this
I mean,
is what
it goes
they did.
back even further than that. Just the act of brewing beer and everything, just for sustainability, and
right.
I mean, the monks drank it. That was their sustenance.
Yeah.
While they couldn't eat food and everything, and then that's where we get some of the best, Dunkels and Kolsch's and all that stuff. That's some of my favorite ones. Yeah, so it's a long history. It's why it's very important.
How did you learn all this stuff? I mean, I have such a just a paper thin knowledge of all the all the things that come to brewing.
I seek it out. I am studying. I'm hoping to achieve a couple more levels in my Cicerone training and everything.
What is that again?
Cicerone. It's a beer serving and knowledge training that you can buy and study for and everything. We also have a very accommodating head brewer, Charlie McDonough at Lavery, and he's always happy to talk about things and let us bother him about his processes and everything. A lot of us there are very interested in it, so he gets bugged by a lot of us. So.
I've heard, people that, it used to be kind of we were kind of a central location for the home brewer, right? Wasn't what was that beer house? Wasn't that you could buy that 5-gallon drum system out on 12th Street, right?
That's where Black Monk is. Yeah,
is that right? Yeah, and then this is professional brewers, but when you're getting started, when you're trying things, it's easy for your stuff to go south on you, right? I mean. Yeah. There's really an art to it.
Yes, it's a whole scientific operation, which I know some, but there's still so much I don't. It's just the way that they have to proportion things and different ingredients, and especially now with adjuncts, and which are the things basically the things you add in extra to accomplish some sort of flavor profile.
Yeah, like when you have an orange or citrus flavor, that's an add-in, right?
Yeah, or a chocolate or peanut butter or banana or puree or cotton candy or whatever. I have cotton candy on the mind.
Right.
But so there's a whole. I mean, I see some of the formulas essentially sometimes, and I'm like, I can't. I'm not the best person to be reading that anyway. But it's amazing what they've done. Everyone has a nice long history of doing that, and it takes a long time to get where they are. That's why it's important.
And once they get a formula that works, how long does it take to brew up a batch? When you see those big vats behind. The bar behind the windows or something like that. What's that all about? Like
if you're looking at a bright tank or a beer in a tank that's fermenting or in its finishing stage, it will have been there. It's usually, now I'm hoping I'm not talking too out of turn, but it's usually around a month. Lagers take longer to brew because they're brewed at a colder temperature. So everything's in a more slow moving process to accomplish the lager flavor. You get more of the clear, not maltier, but that barley taste, that just that essential lager flavor that everybody loves. IPAs are made at a higher temperature because the hops, you have to boil the hops for a certain amount of time depending on what kind of bitterness level you're trying to achieve, and then there's hops added in afterward as well to get that bitterness back and everything. And even the whole DDH or double dry hopped trend you're seeing right now is the extra adding of the hops in the final tank to get some of that. It's not even always bitterness. It can be a floral taste, a citrus taste. There's all kinds. There's a whole wheel of categories between even like a marijuana flavor to the bitter or to the brown and malty flavor. So, but the average I would say is a month. I know that they have to start stuff at least that far out.
It's amazing to me, how, so many people have acquired tastes for all these different types of craft beers. When you consider that, that American lager history that we have, I mean, I'm a kind of an old guy, and so I remember, watching football games and they're promoting, Schlitz and Schmitz and Iron City, or and then at one point the light beers came out and something. Then something happened. It seemed like in the 80s where this kind of let's get more exotic kind of thing. And I don't know if it started with people like Sam Adams or something like that. It seemed like people started branching out, and then all of a sudden it's like this tidal wave now. And now there's just so many selections and so many locations. I mean, you're up to 17 people in the region here. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the IPA is certainly an American concept that didn't start that long ago. But it's India Pale Ale, right? Or no? Yeah. The I guess the making it popular was started here.
Okay.
Yes, you're right. I forgot. It is in the India Pale Ale. They did start it there, and then we adopted it and
went crazy with
it. Yeah, and then now you can do anything you want to stuff like that. So and just make it any sort of. I mean, there's all different kinds that you can have for people, and that's what's nice is.
But I mean, I feel like a market was built out of cloth. I mean, where did these consumers come from is my question. I mean, it's kind of amazing when you think about it.
I think it's an adaptation of just people's flavor, palates evolving over time. It's like eventually you're ready for something new and different. And I mean, I know back in my Yuengling days, that was my top tier beer. And then when I started working for Timber Creek, it was like, I want to like an IPA. I kind of forced myself into I knew I liked it, but it was such a different, an acquired taste basically. But people are just always ready for something new and different.
And it's also like the opposite of what Erie was known for back in the 80s of quarter drafts, right? Or at the old Oliver's when it was on French Street, I think it became the Edge or whatever. You get a bucket of Rolling Rock ponies for $5 or even less or $3. I mean, like everything was kind of concentrated on cheap beer for college students. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so this is like, hey, you're going to pay $6 for a pint or, $8 for a super fancy drink.
It's interesting because I remember reading about when people did want to just make beer cheap and just sell it because people just wanted beer. There was a time where people did an experiment with they made cans of beer and it was just labeled beer. There was no, that's just when, I think that was 60s or 70s. I can't remember. But so, and I remember, just some people's palates don't evolve and they do just want their beer. When I worked at Voodoo or, still it's just people come in and they're appalled at the thought of a $6 or $7 beer. But when you come in, not even knowing what you're asking for, but knowing that you're in an establishment that specializes in something like that, that you're going to pay a few bucks more, and especially to have a different experience. And that's what flights are all about too. That's why they're so popular. Everyone can try all different kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, people are still doing the flights to do the tasting and something like that.
Yeah, everyone does a different form of it, but it's usually between 4 and 6 3 to 5 ounce glasses, and some of them are pre-selected for you, and some of them you can choose your own. So,
is it almost a requirement now that a craft beer location would have some kind of food, whether it's just munchies or, is there such a thing as hey, this is it?
I would say so. It's certainly not a requirement, but a lot of those places will let you bring your own food in if they're not serving it, or at least bags of chips or something, But I mean, there's an hour of our operation each day that we don't serve food. The kitchen closes before the restaurant does.
Sure.
That all comes down to responsible serving management and everything too. So
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
We're talking to Kristin Hubert. She is she's the director of the Lake Erie Ale Trail. We're going to talk about how this is affecting tourism and economic development when we come back after the break. You are tuned to Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show here on a Friday. Again, I love this, in the About section. The history of breweries in the greater Erie region is deep and rich. There's no doubt about it. All you have to do is look at the old Kohler beer commercials from the 60s and 70s. Known by the collar it keeps. Back in a bit. If we were to flash back 30, 40 years ago, there wasn't a craft brewery scene in Erie and Erie region, and now there's 17 locations. It really is something. We're talking to Kristin Hubert here live on the Joel Natale Show here in Talk Erie from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here. You said, Kristin, that the Lake Erie Ale Trail started with 3 members and now is up to 17. And it's just remarkable. Now, probably one of the challenges you're dealing with here is that has the industry reached a saturation point in this size market? And actually, has it reached a saturation point across the country?
I don't think so. I think we're still in a nice time where, I mean, even just in Erie, we have our little brochures for the Ale Trail, and even just in Erie, people use it as an excuse to rent a shuttle for a day and go visit all the breweries that whatever you can. I know Lake Erie Wine Country promotes that a lot because those are a lot closer together. You can just hop on and go visit everything. But no, I think as people visit the areas that they're going to, with more breweries popping up, there's more locations there's more options. There's more things to do. And again, with the expansion of what breweries offer, whether it's arcade games, live entertainment, or just the aesthetic of their building, which is something I really appreciate when I go somewhere, is just an experience of its own. And if you're just going to sit and try some beers and then hop to the next place, that's something that people still really enjoy.
Are we starting to see now too that like the corner tavern will pick up a couple of local lines or something, maybe a keg from Lavery or something like that?
Yeah, you can find Dulicon just about everywhere you go.
What do they call that?
Dulicon. It's one of their flagship beers aside from the Madre Alta.
Okay.
It's their flagship IPA. It's a Gaelic for a headless horseman.
Okay.
So it's just one of their original
and so that'll show up in a tavern somewhere.
Erie Ale Works has Tattooed Lady. A lot of places that you go. So, and Twisted Elk actually just got a lot of taps down at the Nudes down here that took over Molly Brannigan's. Place.
Right across the way. Yeah.
Oh, over here. I forgot where I'm at.
Yeah, sure.
So I just saw that they just started selling Twisted Elk's beer. So that's another fun thing. And at Calamari's, Plymouth, you'll find regional beer as well. But a lot of places are utilizing our local beer as well, which is nice.
Talk about there are tourists that actually are all about the craft beers, right? They're like looking for it, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why it's nice to have this information accessible, because people can just go to one spot and see a list of all the options they can go to instead of having to do all the Googling work themselves, or they can go directly to the websites from our website. Back in the fall, I visited the Poconos, and they have a similar thing. They just had a whole website of places you can go to, and so it validated how important it is for people visiting our area to have something like that to look up, so you can whatever they want to do.
Talk about the coordination that you do with Visit Erie, because I've even seen they'll have a campaign or push it that way, right, for the tourism.
Yeah, it isn't just specifically with them, but they do partner with us to help, especially again in the summertime with the summer tourism for people coming from all kinds of places. I don't think I appreciate Presque Isle enough for what it is. So they'll push a lot of that to be like, okay, whenever you're done at the beach for the day, here's some places you can visit. Whether it's
cross promotion, right?
Yeah.
You got to do it. I mean, and I would imagine that as a bartender, you say, hey, where's a good place to eat? Or, hey, where can I bring my kids to have some fun? Or,
right. And even as people are in our restaurant, they're asking, where do we go next? So it's nice. A lot of the bartending staff know each other as well. So we're all like, go see Brian and Kyle at Ale Works, or go across the street. I mean, brewery is catty corner from us. You can, like, those 3 places are walkable, and then you could walk down to Voodoo and Tap House if it's a nice day and not as windy as it has been outside. So, we do that all the time, give other recommendations. So it's nice to help keep people in the loop. And have direct references because people trust that.
So does John Melody have a line of his own beers at Tap House, or is he pouring everybody else's? How does that work?
No, Tap House specifically, they have a lot of John Russell breweries or brewery
Okay,
beers.
that's right, John Russell. I forgot about it.
And then they still have some other.
So they're brewing up on Peachtree.
Yes, where the beer store used to be.
Yes,
just expanded. Yeah, it's a beauful brewery up there.
Yeah, it's amazing. Again, do we have any idea on the economics of this? Like how much, how many millions are sold a year?
That is something I definitely would have loved to have thought to review before I came on here. But it's, I think just with the push that we all see, the busyness that it gets in the summer and everything, especially if you have been in even just the hospitality industry in Erie. I've been in it for, it was 10 years in November. I've been up here, and I started at Tap House actually, and then just kept bartending jobs at Voodoo and then Lavery, and it just seeing all kinds of different people coming in from wherever they're coming in from. It has to be in the thousands of a difference every year. So that's why, especially in these times, to keep, to leverage what we already have and keep people driving in the door, to these restaurants and breweries and everything. We really try to push the local aspect of it and, made right here.
Sure.
Everything. So that's what people want when they visit a specific town. Especially a smaller town like Erie.
We asked the workforce question with all of our guests that are in the business world. Here we are 5 years since the beginning of COVID, probably 3 years post COVID. How difficult is it these days to find bartenders and servers and people in the back of house, or chefs and so on for your establishments? Is it still a tight business market?
I don't think so. I can't speak for everybody, especially because everyone has a different sized establishment, either much larger or on a much smaller scale. I know that I personally see a lot more people coming in wanting to bartend. I think people are realizing.
So they're knocking on your door.
The advantages of, monetarily, and especially if an establishment is giving good benefits and everything, that's a thing now. So, I think because of COVID, it just made, people are just taking different routes. They're just choosing to do more of what they want to do. They're not feeling as pushed to go into an office and everything. And if you have the mentality and the patience and the personality for it, bartending is a great time. It's just the people you meet and everything that can come from that, the connections you make. I know, I would say 75% of the people I know are because they were customers of mine at one point, close friends, even just still acquaintances or something. So, it's stuff. I personally don't think there's a shortage, but.
Yeah. And it seems like, your folks there, let's say at your place, they have enough servers. They don't seem to have
we don't
trouble
have servers
recruiting. Oh,
at
you don't?
Lavery's? No, it's just it's a bar service place. That's how they were before. So it was a little confusing at first for people because we have a full dining room
you
now.
guys do the food. Okay.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we bring your food to you and everything. So in a way, we're half serving, but a lot of breweries now are just, you go to the bar for service. It's just kind of at your own pace. That, you can
kind
go
of
and hang
Voodoo's
out.
that way.
Yes,
you get a text and go get your pizza or whatever.
Yeah, that's after my time with the text, but that's a post-COVID thing. So it just gave people the space to do things when they were ready. So not everybody had to crowd and line up if they didn't want to. So everyone's certainly adapted to different methods as they've seen fit. But we at Lavery's don't. It's just bar service, and people come and go as they please. So,
well, I mean, and I'm thinking about brewery. I mean, their servers. Some of them have been there for years and years.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a very loyal staff up there. You know?
I've gotten to know some of them as well, and I love their environment too, because it just, you walk in and it just feels classier. It's just that the history of that building and everything is, it certainly feels like the place that you would still go sit and be served and everything. So it's just that I like their way of doing things.
I mean,
as well.
Again, there's a different experience for every member of the Ale Trail.
Yeah.
But they are unique experiences. Like it's more than just, having a beer and some pretzels on a bar. This is like a very interesting, kind of I won't call it a subculture, but kind of, you know,
If
I mean,
you're
especially for the people that are really enthusiastic about it.
You took the words right out of my mouth. If you are enthusiastic about this, especially with of the breweries have rotating taps. It's like when you go to a chain restaurant or something, they'll have what they call the rotating tap, like the Sam Adams rotating tap or whatever. The breweries are all rotating taps. There are some beers that they keep on all the time because it's just that's their statement beer and that's what they want to keep on. But other than that, there's something new coming on all the time. So you're always going to want to go and try out the next newest thing and then go for your favorites as well. How
many of these locations are getting into the bottling or the what's the big bottle, what do they call that?
The bigger, actual bottles?
Yeah.
The bombers?
The bombers or,
those have actually...
Or grogs. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But, the take-home part of this business.
The growler...
right.
Growlers and crowlers. So crowlers are the cans, a little bit smaller, a little bit more personal sized, if that's what you're going for, instead of buying a 4-pack or something. Those are definitely still very much a thing. We sell those all the time, and even as the Ale Trail, we release new growlers every year for people to have as collectibles and to go around and fill all of their beer. Or you get one, if you buy into the membership, you get one free growler fill at each brewery a year.
Oh, so you're carrying around your Ale Trail growler and getting it filled.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's still definitely a popular thing if people want to, especially if something isn't available in cans or bottles. The bottle thing is going away a little bit. A lot of it is just cans now.
Yeah.
With the ability to have different kinds of labels, that's part of my thing personally. Is I go for a fun label usually if I'm willing.
It's not. I mean, these are not industrial processes. Maybe at Erie Brewing they have that, right, to do the Presque Isle Pilsner and Matt Anthony.
They're a big operation.
They're a big operation. But this is something that they can do in between. If it's a quiet night, you might be filling up some cans and capping them, right?
Yeah, I've participated in that, and some of our bartenders have done that. We'll just jump in on a canning day, and I mean, I was not prepared for the level of strenuous that was. So obviously a lot more appreciation for the people in the back in the brewery after that, but it's fun to be a part of it for sure, because then you're, especially as a tight-knit group that we are at Lavery's, it's fun to have a part of that process.
So will a typical customer, especially if they're new, they might have one at while they're there and then maybe take some home then?
Yeah,
that's kind of how it goes.
A lot of places will have to-go coolers. They'll have it as a display, within reach of the customer that you can grab and go.
I gotta imagine that the economic impact of this, especially, it's bringing people into town. I mean, you think about the locations. Sure, there's a lot in the suburbs and outside, but there's a lot of these craft microbreweries right here in town.
Yeah, yeah. There's certainly people that, again, with the central location we have to 3 of our bigger cities surrounding us within 2 hours or less, we have people visiting specifically for some of the breweries here, and then it's like, okay, we'll hop over to this one, because they're all so close. So the proximity serves a great purpose.
Have you heard any stories where a local brewery here kind of catches on somewhere farther, maybe at a college town, or just somebody that moved and said, I want to make sure that my IPA from back home is available? That is something I think that used to be delved into a lot more. It's not something... distributing laws are crazy. That's true too. We didn't even get to that yet. Where to start a new one is a big deal. It's painful.
Yeah, or even just to send your beer,
right?
Even just to send your beer to another location within state lines is hard. So even just to send. And I know, Voodoo has their franchises all over the place now, so that's something that they take care of on their own. But that's a huge. When you're taking a restaurant's worth of beer somewhere, obviously that's worth it and everything. But if we're sending a couple of kegs somewhere, the cost of shipping that, or even if it isn't a wound tight distribution law, it may not break even with what they're looking to do.
But
having it outside of Erie, like some of our beers would be amazing. But there's a couple that I see multiple times a year from Rochester, New York, that comes down specifically for to try it and see what we have on tap. And then they hop over to Aleworks and they hop over to brewery, and then we try to get them other places too. But I mean, even if the beer isn't in the other locations, people are coming here from.
I mean, I could see a scenario where there would be enough Erie people to say, hey, let's make sure this particular, one of your big beers is in State College, for example.
No, you're very right. That's a good thought, actually.
Yeah, I mean, and then one of you guys makes a trip once a month with a keg or whatever. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I mean,
we have actually, there's a guy with a bar in Pittsburgh that comes up, and I think he just personally drives his own vehicle up and buys a keg and drives it back down to put it on tap. So I think it's Dualcon that he comes up for. But yeah,
that's cool. Well, this is a great thing to understand about, because I feel like there's a lot of boxes that are checked off. You know what I mean? As far as the economy, as an employer, as what draws people to a community like Erie. This is it's additive to quality of life, right? And I would imagine some of the various microbreweries are able to get, like at the Seawolves or at the Otters and other events. Do you guys do a big deal for Celebrate Erie at all? Or
we're working on that.
You are?
Celebrate Erie, we are down here for. There will be, I mean, you'll get a good portion of our breweries serving beer down at the beer garden every year.
Okay, so that's members of the Ale Trail.
Yeah. Wow. And we organize that. And then the Otters, Lavery's has their Otter beer there. Yeah. I don't know what else might be available, but we're trying to work our way into the Seawolves for something. So yeah, definitely. That's part of my role too, is just before someone like me existed within the Ale Trail. I mean, these brewers are running their own establishments. They don't have the time to commit to doing all this. It's amazing what they've accomplished up until now. But, so that's why I'm here.
So this marketing arm is out there to get the word out. Well, we appreciate it. Kristin Hubert, again, the Lake Erie Ale Trail, and your website is lakeeriealetrail.com. And the Jeer Fest. That's coming up when again? The 24th?
Thursday, April 24th at 7 p.m. Yep.
At the
Keller's Magic and Comedy Club.
All right. Yeah. Hear these poor people getting insulted. And they're laughing about it.
If you don't laugh, you'll cry.
If you don't laugh, you'll cry. I love that. Thank you, Kristin.
Thank you.